What is up, Shark Nation? Welcome to another episode of the SharkPod with me, your host, Luke Curry, out of Greystone Studios, aka the hottest box room in North Wicklow. I've got my co-host out there in Glenageary, Mark Baker. Marky B, how's it going?
All good. I am also in an extremely hot sauna of a box room.
Okay, we've got Cathal Noone on as a guest, who is another one of my brother-in-laws. How hot is your room, Cathal?
It's pretty hot. The windows are wide open and there's paddling pools been filled outside. So, yeah, we'll see. It'll get hotter once I have to close them.
Well, we'll get you into that paddling pool as quickly as we can. So just to give a bit of an introduction to our guest today, Cathal Noone is my wife's brother. So we're all brother-in-laws on the... Well, I guess Mark isn't... We're not really all brother-in-laws, but you guys are both my brother-in-laws and you're both accountants. In fact, every brother-in-law I have is an accountant. Go figure.
No excuses, though.
You're such a disappointment, Luke.
Yeah, exactly. Just underachiever here. But the reason why we asked Cathal to come on is that I heard his podcast, or him being interviewed on our old friend Conal O'Morine, That Great Business show. And I thought that, you know, if he's my brother-in-law, he should come on to my podcast and we'll discuss his business as well. Like, you know, give the information to the Shark Nation out there. So Cathal, your business is R&DTaxcredits.ie.
Yeah.
How would you explain that? How would you, in a nutshell, what's going on?
I'm trying to help companies claim R&D tax credits efficiently and cheaply, I suppose, is probably what I'm trying to do.
Okay. And your background for the people out there, you're an accountant, like we said, but what have you been doing for the last few years? How did you kind of get into this?
So I'm an accountant, but I'm also an electronic engineer. So a nice dual discipline there, unusual. And I've been working as a director in PwC's R&D tax credit team for 5 years now. So a lot of experience in this area. So 5 years of R&D tax credit claims. Say my clients have claimed not far off €1 billion over that time. So yeah, lots of experience in the area and lots of advice to spread out, because obviously in my time at PwC, I would have focused on multinationals. So I spread my wings to, I'm not going to rule out the multinationals, but the SME sector, everything from startup to multinational now, I'm trying to help claim R&D tax credits in a systematic process driven kind of way.
Okay, cool. And so just for an R&D, for those people that wouldn't know anything about tax credits or research and development, what does that entail in Ireland? Is it Ireland specific? Like, can anyone do the R&D tax credits? Can we kind of like research something that's not part of the business and claim it back? There's got to be rules there, right?
There's rules. There is any company can claim R&D tax credits. So you can't just rock up and write an app in your front room and try to throw in a claim. So if you're an established company and you're doing R&D in kind of any of the STEM areas, trying to develop a new product or process or advance a new technology in some way, then you're probably within scope to claim a credit. And like, it's pretty generous. It's in lots of jurisdictions, to answer your other question. But the Irish regime is probably one of the most generous regimes. If you look at kind of the multinationals and all the tech companies that are based in Ireland, all the pharmaceutical companies, other than the 12.5% corporation tax rate, the other driving force to get them in here has been the R&D tax credit. So it's a big part of our kind of global tax policy.
Hey, cool. Because it's very topical right now with the Irish tax system and all that type of stuff with the OECD. Yeah, they're all like saying, you know, it's got to be 15%. Sign up to this or else. And we're like, you know, you're not elected or anything. Who are you people? You know. So it's always been kind of our secret weapon. And I think over the last kind of year and a half, where all the multinationals have been very kind of agile, allowing people working from home, we've seen really kind of big growth across loads of the types of companies that are working in Ireland. So it's been a real getting the international companies here has been a real. A real bonus for us and me particularly as well. I've benefited from that. I was listening to some of the stats about how much not only employment does it give directly, but also all of the kind of ancillary services that are attached to those jobs from the international companies as well. So it's really cool. But so a company like HubSpot, like the one that I work for, we develop some software here, but not all software. Could we apply these tax credits just to just the stuff we built here, or is it kind of like, can we farm it out somewhere else and claim it here?
No, we can't. So HubSpot do software development. I've actually spoken to them before, and they develop some pretty cool, interesting products. But what you're really looking at when you're kind of looking at an R&D tax credit, first and foremost, is your payroll costs, your staffing costs, where that's based. So you can't really claim the costs incurred in payroll in other jurisdictions. Okay. Not for a larger claimant anyway. There is scenarios you can for smaller claimants, but generally speaking, it's the Irish-based payroll staff that are the driving force of the credit. So the first thing I say to a company when they're looking to claim is, how many developers, how many R&D staff have you got based in Ireland? What's their kind of salary range? Because you can quickly get a very close approximation of what their likely claim values are going to look like. If their answer is, we don't have anyone working on R&D in Ireland, I say you don't have to claim almost straight away. Okay. So that's the driving force. It's the whole purpose of the regime is to encourage employment within those high-tech sectors in the state, and that's what it does.
It's so interesting as well, because it's like we seem to develop things in Ireland with HubSpot, and sometimes I was wondering, like, why would you pay these types of, there has to be some sort of reason behind it. But Mark Baker, when you're talking about stuff that you're doing in your company, do you ever come up with reasons to say, or how to save tax and stuff like that? Is that something that you guys do with your when you're making decisions? STEM and stuff like that, but
no, not really. I was thinking for the SMEs, Carl, like, what would be some examples of R&D? Usually when you think R&D, you think the big multinationals. What would be some examples, just to let us know?
Well, like if you look at anyone, I was an example. So if you're in STEM, if you're developing a product and you're using core technology, so software development is an obvious one. If you're doing software development in a SME, you should be looking at, do you qualify for an R&D tax credit? Obviously, the pharmaceutical sector, your med device sector is a big hub out in Galway. Lots of med device startups. Like anything, like you name it, it's there. Like, so your agri-food sectors, there's really interesting agricultural research projects going on. People developing new milking machines. There's it's technology. Someone developing a new service, product, technology offering, be it physical or virtual. They should be at least considering an R&D tax credit. And you tend to know. So if your staff are highly qualified people, like engineers, they're chemists, they're specialized PhDs or masters, they have master qualifications in those type of areas, they're probably doing R&D. You're not hiring someone with that level of educational qualification to answer phones. so you're more than likely going to have some level of R&D in there, and you should have some level of claim.
Are you ever surprised that of the lack of claims or the lack of knowledge that people, are they letting millions go down the drain?
Millions, because like it's a 25% saving on costs, and those costs include capital expenditure. So like if you are trying to develop a new physical product, the cost and even just buying your capital to start doing some experimental, like proof of concept development work, like that costs a fortune. You can claim a portion of all those costs in on top of your payroll, on top of your salary. Like, so if I look at the software development sector, and I look at the people who are generally employed in there, the average salary is high. You're talking at least 70, 80K a year. Typically, when you get to an R&D tax credit and you layer on the other costs, your cloud computing costs, the cost of actually having a laptop, having it sitting in an office, all the other costs kind of associated with that, it's easily 100K per person of cost that can be drawn to a claim. So 25% of that's 25K a year per person. It's big. The numbers hit big numbers quite quickly. So once you're if you have a team of 5 people doing core R&D work, your claim is going to be a minimum of 125K a year. Then that's likely to completely wipe out your corporation tax and most likely result in a big refund from the revenue in terms of monetization over a 3-year period. So it's nice.
Yeah, geez, that's huge. Like, is what you do usually, are you preempting that? Are you doing that at the start, or is it retrospectively you getting people money back? What kind of proportion?
It's both. So I'm encouraging people, the way things are going and the policing of the regime from the Irish Revenue is kind of changing over time. So if I went back to 5 years ago, I would have said it's retrospective. So after a company's financial year end, they'll come to us and say, we think we have an R&D tax credit claim. you go out to that company, you talk to their technical staff, you build out technical reports, and you do a financial calculation, and it's all done like that. And that's, we'll say, a little bit of finger in the air of like, oh yeah, no, okay, maybe they were probably spending about 85% of their time on that activity, and that's probably qualifying, and that's not really acceptable anymore. So that post year-end assessment is okay as long as you're doing stuff as it goes through the financial year. So what I'm getting companies to do, and look, I've developed a software solution for this, is to get their employees on the system, capture their percentage of time on qualifying activities, and describe those activities as they're doing them against the legislative definition. So it kind of trains them, outlines what's required, outlines what type of information they need to capture, when they need to capture it. And then at the end of the financial year, you're kind of clicking a button and you're pretty much finished your claim. So it's that's where I'm moving them to. But some companies, again, have their own internal systems and processes that are there that are okay. They do the job sufficiently that we just leverage them, and we still do post-year-end assessments. But what I'll say is most companies come to me and they say, I want a claim for 2020 at this stage. We'll get a claim together. It's probably not going to be as robust as I'd like it, but we get them a proper system and process set up for 2021, and going forward, they're in a really good place.
Mark, it's so interesting as well, because it's one of those businesses where I think it was probably late last year where we were talking about this for the first time, Cathal, and you explained the business to me. You showed me kind of the software that you were working on, and I know nothing about tax credits. I know nothing about research and development. But I think you just spoke to me for about 3 minutes, showed me a rough outline of the software. I'm like, yeah, perfect, that works. Do you know what I mean? It's
I was going to say, who is on the other side managing that software for the company? Is that an accountant? Is it an admin person? Is it the owner?
As in, who is making sure that the employees are actually doing the stuff? It's a combination. So it's a lot of it's automatic notifications. So they'll get notifications when they need to do things. They'll get email notifications, but there's usually a person responsible, usually the technical lead or the say CTO of the company will get notifications, and mainly notifications when someone's not complying with the requirements. So if something's outstanding, if something's beyond a certain date, they'll get a notification to step on it. And if it starts getting worse, I see that stuff as well, I'll contact them directly. So okay. It's this combination of R&DTaxcredits.ie helping them out and a bit of internal management. But the numbers are so big that usually people get on board pretty quick.
That's kind of the other thing about this type of business, what I think is really, really interesting, is that it's one of those ones where it's like, it should be a no-brainer for people. It should be an offer they can't refuse. It's like we had Norman Crowley on here, Mark. Remember his style of sales that he was talking about, where when he goes in to talk to CEOs, the offer is so good for them that if they he makes it so good that they would be afraid their directors would hear about it if they didn't take it. Do you know what I mean? Like it was that's type of
where they get the bill for not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, you're going in, you're saying, okay, it's going to cost X amount, but you're going to save, or you're going to get, like there's an equation there that's quite easily made up. And it's not the case for a lot of software. Like most software, it's not the case. Like say if you're buying Salesforce or something like Salesforce, it's very difficult to kind of figure out the ROI. Yeah, like how can it? I mean, it makes it more efficient. People, you're capturing stuff. You get that, good data, all that type of stuff that you can make decisions about. It's very difficult to build like an IRR decision making kind of, thing on that. Other than we need something, and this is the shiniest software we can find. So when you talk to companies, typically, like even in your previous position, was there areas where like you guys came in and really changed the way that they were working, and they seen a huge benefit there? Like, has there been ones that were just missing the boat completely that you guys were helping them with?
There's a mix. So like most companies, it is the easiest thing in the world. Like you'd rock into a company to say we're interested in already tax credits. You'd explain it to them, explain what you do, and then kind of say we're going to take at most 5% of the benefit you're getting back. It's not a hard sale. it's like okay, that makes sense for us. So I'll get 95%, you get 5%, and you do all the work. It's like pretty much, and that's not really true because the engineers have to buy into it as well. That's where the difficulty is. So like if you think about what I'm saying you need to have in place to claim an R&D tax credit, like, and you rock into a company that doesn't have timesheets, doesn't really keep track of what they do on a day-to-day basis, and just kind of floats along, does their thing, moves on, doesn't think about the past. It's not easy to tell them, by the way, you need to capture timesheets every month now, and you need to structure the way you're capturing your data around your R&D, and you need to put information to the system every month. Like, the person on the ground, obviously the senior people in the organization are completely on board. There is no question. They're like, yeah, absolutely, sign me up, put it through, great, look forward to working with you. Talk to the engineering teams, and they're like, I have to do what? It's like, I don't have to do that before, like, blah, blah, blah. So the difficulty is that who I sell it to, and it's actually kind of a funny way I do business. I sell it to finance. So finance buy it, and then engineering have to do all the work. Like, so the on-the-ground developer is like, hates me. The finance guy loves me. They don't hate me. They come to respect me eventually. But initially they're like, this lad, what? First of all, I think they're coming in to get some kind of audit. That's why when I was in PwC, that was always the initial reaction. It's like, the auditor wants to talk to me. Why? I was like, I'm not an auditor. I'm here to make you guys money.
Like, you look like an auditor. Yeah, what's yeah.
Thanks. Well, I was an auditor, like I used to be.
But it's rare. It's actually rare that a qualified accountant is going to come in and give you money as opposed to give you a bill. Do you know what I make you money?
I give you a bill as well, like. But yeah,
you're making a net. Yeah.
And even in companies, like I find, that have claimed R&D tax credits and have good systems and processes in place, but maybe, they have an advisor that isn't completely knowledgeable in the area. It's a very niche area of tax. Like, there's not many advisors in the area at all.
How did you actually fall into that area?
It's kind of like a funny story. So I trained in audit in PwC, and I was working as a financial systems accountant for Elevon, credit card transaction processing company. And I just got a phone call one day from a guy I kind of knew through a mutual friend. Like, so I'd been out for a couple of beers with him a couple of times. Stephen Merriman's his name. He's a R&D tax credit partner in PwC now. And he said, look, we're trying to get this, trying to get a group established. He was trying to make partners time he was a director. And he said, one of the senior guys on my team, now the whole team was tax at this point, there was no technical people at all on it, is handing his notice. I really, really need someone with your kind of dual expertise to join the team. And it took a bit of convincing to get me back, because I'm sure you know yourself, Mark, you worked in audit in one of the big four. I didn't particularly enjoy the first stint. I was like, well, I don't know if I really want to go back. But had a conversation, thought it was interesting. And look, it is obviously really interesting, because I get to kind of look at emerging technologies and new concepts. Kind of like what you guys do on your podcast here. Have those interesting conversations, but not have to get into the weeds too much. Yeah. And then see how the financial elements of that kind of balance out, and you get a really good overview for a company. That's how I got into it. It's just literally a phone call from a good friend. He's actually brother-in-law of a good friend of mine, and then it just worked really well. Like that combination of skills just worked ideally, because I could talk to the engineering side. I could understand what they were doing. I had a good grasp of the technologies that they were using. I had a good grasp of what was R&D, what wasn't R&D. But also I could talk to the finance team and help them quantify it. So if you look at the team, I started, there was like 4 of us. I was the only non-pure tax person, but still kind of hybrid, I suppose. It was 17 when I left in January, and it's almost all technical staff now, PhDs in like chemistry and engineering, and like just different qualifications. There's almost no tax people in the group anymore. Okay. Because the whole like, as I kind of say on some of my introductory videos on the website, like, if you get good quality data from the engineering teams, the financial calculations aren't that complex. Obviously, there's like it's 3 sections of legislation. So that's it. Like, you're talking about 15 pages total of legislation around R&D tax credits, but it's worth like about 700 million a year. So that's I think it's about 2% of the total tax take.
Wow.
Of the state. So it's big area, really big benefits, but quite simple on the financial elements, as long as you build a proper process there to capture technical information. Because
So I was just going to say, when you went in there, what were you thinking career-wise 5-10 years down the line? Were you looking for a path to entrepreneurship, or did that just happen as well?
No, that just happened. I 5 or 6 years down the line, so I was kind of like, okay, I'm in a position now. I was kind of getting a little bit bored. Financial systems, again, it was nice and sweet spot. That's what I was doing. It was kind of hybrid between helping automate financial models and financial calculations and automating year-end close and stuff. And that was all kind of interesting. But you get to a point you're like, it's kind of done now. A lot of it was kind of maintenance at that point. And I was like, this is getting a bit boring. And the opportunity to move back in and move back in at quite a senior level in the Big Four is always a good career move. Like I'm not going to lie. I was like, look, I moved in at a senior manager level in PwC is like, that's always going to look good in the CV. Leaving, training in Big Four is good. I left, good practical experience back in at a senior level. There was always opportunity to progress there if it was good. And I was kind of thinking, look, I don't even know if I like it. I might like it, I might hate it. I don't know. I knew Stephen. I got on very well with Stephen. So I was happy to take a punt on it. And I found it really interesting. Was the idea of entrepreneurship always there? It's always been there in my head. My wife actually said to me when I told her I was leaving, she was like, well, it's always going to happen at some stage, wasn't it? You're always going to set up your own business at some point in your life. And I was like, yeah, that's probably correct. I was always on the agenda at some point.
But that's very hard to do if you actually progress in a Big Four firm. You know,
to leave.
To become an entrepreneur. Yeah, it is. As you get on director level, then you're looking at partner, you know, which is entrepreneurial in itself. But
yeah. But like, what was kind of happening? Look, I suppose I have a vision for where the accountancy and tax world is going to be in a few years' time, and my vision is probably not divergent to what PwC are trying to achieve. So I was actually part of their technology transformation team. So obviously, I played many different roles in there because I was different, as I said. So I was understood technology, understood all these companies, these different elements, kind of understood about data processing, how to capture information, how to output information. And I was pushing strongly for a long time on kind of process automation, just process automation. Because what R&D tax credit and what the process was a manual process. Like by my calculation, about 80% of the time, consulting time we were spending on engagements was automatable. It was completely irrelevant to a large extent. And I was like, look, here's a technology offering. I built out a demo model using PwC's existing technology stack and said, this is what we should be doing. And I just hit a mountain of risk management and red tape and approval. Like, this uses this technology, you need to get approved, have to have like 10 meetings with the risk management team of why, prove it can't go wrong. Then I have to apply to the states for a technology use approval. There's a 2-year waiting list and some of this stuff. And I was like, this is now. Someone's going to do this or build this model soon. And sure, what's the business doing now? Like, what am I actually, like, if I'm saying 80% of my process can be automated, that's 20%, 80% of the business. That should disappear pretty fast. Like, you shouldn't be paying Big Four consultancy fees for a manual process, like where all it is I'm standing up in front of a room with myself, probably a manager and a like consultant or some junior in there. It's costing them probably €1,200 an hour for me to give them training for 2 or 3 hours. Then I hand them out, spread them off Word documents to fill out, get them back. We all read and we all process them. It was costing an insane amount of money just for that type of data acquisition step. So by the time we had the data sufficient to actually get a claim together, you'd already incurred probably, well, it depends on the size of your company, but minimum, I never even spoke to a client if they didn't have at least $5,000 to spend on R&D tax credit fees. So like, wouldn't have even entertained the conversation. But most of the clients were kind of on the order of 50, 60K. So you're talking, they're basically trying away 40K of time which was data processing. And then obviously there's a 20% element of consulting, where you actually have to think about the information you got, look how to improve it, add value. And that's the piece that's more interesting. I like trying to manage a process of sending out Word documents to 100 engineers and so making sure they come back, and then sending out, like we were sending out like timesheets built out in Excel every month or quarter to companies, and pulling it back together and rebuilding it and reporting it back into their finance teams. Like life's too short for that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff.
Seems like this is
a good process for it. Well,
this is like real, like kind of Jerry Maguire moment when you're like, you wrote a memo saying 80% of this is bullshit, and they're like, it's gonna be a 2-year wait until we figure this out. No, that's cool though. Like I think that's how great businesses are built, is when you see a huge inefficiency and say, okay, this is what we can do, and it's going to cut out, say 80%, or it's like that guy. Maybe not 80%. I mean, that guy who found that boat full of gold. Remember in off the coast of Boston, where he actually found 150.
That was a Matthew McConaughey movie, wasn't it?
No, well, that was a great movie with Matthew McConaughey, I think, based on this guy. But he said he found, because he knew he would have to give it back to the government, like, so he said he found 100 million, and he actually found 150 million. Then he went to jail for it, which I don't think that's
Anyway. It wasn't quite fit. I hope to not go to jail at any point.
Yeah.
So the app, Cathal, how do you start to build an app essentially from scratch?
Well, as I said, so I was trying to sell this idea in PwC for a while, and I was responsible for their technology transformation. So I actually had like a team of what they call them accelerators working for me in there, and they were using different technology. I was trying to encourage them to take an next step forward. So everything in there is based off basically Google at the moment. So it's Google Workspace, Google technologies. So I said, look, I'll look at Google technologies to see what exists to build, an app, like a web app / mobile app. So had a browse around, came across something else other than what I built on initially. And I actually bought my own version of Google Workspace at home, because obviously it was massively restricted and I couldn't really do anything with it. So bought my own version and started to play around with some kind of like low-code software development tools or web app development tools. And funnily enough, actually, a company called AppSheets was acquired, I'd say about 2 months after I started playing with this. And Google shut down their own internal tool at that point and said, look, we're moving to AppSheets. We've acquired them. That's the way forward. That's the future of our platform. And they said, look, as an apology for basically end dating the existing platform, because there was massive uproar in the community saying, you can't just end this. I've been using it for years. Like, we were totally reliant on it. They gave out loads and loads of free licenses. So I got like 500 free licenses for AppSheets, which is amazing. So loads of free licenses. I said, cool, I'll start building this on this platform. The platform is an amazing low-code web development platform. So I started building that, and I could basically do everything that I needed to do. But the beauty of it is it's behind Google security layer. And I don't have to manage things like passwords or other security information, because you're logging in using existing accounts, like your Google accounts, your Office 365 account, whatever you have, Salesforce account, you can actually log directly into the application. So I don't have to manage any of the security layers. I was just building out the process automation. So that's what it is. It took a while. I'm not going to lie, Mark, because like there was a lot in it. But
did you not just outsource it to somebody on Fiverr? No, is that not what you're supposed to do?
No, well, it could have done, but again, I was trying to show that this is a technology stack that we should be using within the organization I was currently working in, and saying, look, it can be done by the people with the expertise. So, like, I can't outsource it, because by the length of time it'll take for me to instill the knowledge that I have into another person, I'd actually be faster building it myself. And that's probably the point on lots of these future tax technologies and accounting technologies. The experts in the area are really going to have to be closely hands-on to the technology, because things change quite quickly. That's the other piece. Like, the Irish Revenue on this stuff will change their interpretation regularly. I need to change my software platform as soon as that interpretation changes. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to have eternal reliance on an external party to have to do this. So
you're in a very unique unique position though, that like most startups have the kind of entrepreneur, the CEO, whoever it is, and then they have the tech person. You actually have them combined in one, which is quite rare, which you're leveraging off, which exactly, it's an unfair advantage that you have over everyone else, and that's exactly what you should be doing.
I put in the work, Mark. I put in the work. Unfair advantage. I did 2 professional qualifications.
Yeah,
like
it's just naturally like that.
Yeah. You're right, Mark. Telling us that. Let's get real.
It's matter like so the engineering. What was the engineering background that you have? What
electronics.
Electronics. So you did that. When did you do that? Just what year? Like
2000-ish. Well, I graduated in 2001. Not 2000. Well, I was 21. 2004.
And that still stood to you for throughout your whole career, essentially. That.
Well, like it's not like, I don't know what you studied in college, Mark, commerce or something.
I was just going to compare it to my history and Greek and Roman arts degree is really terribly well.
It was 40 hours a week for 4 years. Like it wasn't. Yes. It was intense, and like it covered, everything. And it was purely electronics. So it was software. Did a lot of software development. We did a lot of coding. We did a lot of hardware development. Like it was an intense load of physics, applied maths, mathematics. Like. But it's something I always liked and something I always enjoyed. Like ever since I got my first NES as a kid, I was always kind of obsessed with technology. So I never lost it. I always kept on top of it. Always kept up, kind of like little hobby projects, building stuff, like just building hardware, building software, just out of interest, learning new coding languages, like as a hobby, like writing something that I wanted to do. And like, even then when I kind of, obviously was always very good at tech computers and Excel and technology. So like I used to build out macros and stuff in like all the time. I just taught myself, learning to build it, like for doing things, and always in much mistrust. Like I remember building out stuff when I worked in audit to like compare different files and stuff. And everyone was like, just do a property call. I was like, man, this is property, look. So I always kept them up. But yeah, it always stood to me. Like, and
such a great skill to have though. Isn't it? Like,
what I was doing in terms of the R&D tax credit stuff, like I was talking to engineers every day. I was understanding technologies and technology platforms out there. Like it really keeps you up to speed with what's emerging and what I should be looking at or what I should know. So like you're always kept in the loop by default doing that type of stuff.
I think it's an interesting thing to keep on top of as well. And it gives you, like, so I was talking to somebody, one of my friends who's had a really good run betting on certain stocks and stuff like that. And he's like, because I know the industry so well, I kind of know the companies are going to do well in that space. Like if I see if they've got something novel, I'd be like, well, no one's really going to be able to do anything for 3 years there. So that kind of way, like, so it does give you a little bit of an edge. But Mark, because me and Mark are always talking on the podcast about university and college and stuff like that, and we've got, me and Mark have different stances. He thinks college is still, I guess, the way to go. I don't know, with my child, I don't know if college, by the time he comes around, everyone's going to be able to just put the chips in the back of the head and that type of thing. What do you think? Do you think it's, what do you think about university? Worth going if you're doing them?
Big question.
It's worth going if you're going to do something that's going to contribute to the rest of your life. Like I wouldn't go in and do an arts or philosophy. But like if you're doing something that's like, as in it's what you want, it's career building, like you're not going to be able to condense that much knowledge. Like, so look what I did. You're talking 4 years, 40 hours a week of like condensed learning in a specific area. Like it would take you many, many, many years to do that as you're working independently. Like there's no replication for it. Like it's but having said that, now if I actually look at how I learn now, I learn on YouTube and I learn on apps. Like I don't, if I'm interested in a specific thing, it's kind of far more learning on demand. And I think that's the way things might go. It might move from, look, I'm not going to go to college for 4 years and study this, but I'm going to sign up to some type of academic platform. And when I need to know something for a specific reason, or I want to know something, I'll tune in and I'll actually do a proper, like, short course on that specific area. So things like, I want to learn how to code X. I want to learn more about cloud computing here. I want to know about database storage. Like I check it out, look at the research, look what other people have said online, watch some YouTube videos, watch some training information, do a Udemy course, And then like you're in a good place, like, because again, like college, it's very specific. And I would think actually electronic engineering, what I did, it's instilling a way of thinking into you, a logical, sequential way of thinking. And that's the way computer systems work. That's the way computers work, and that's the way electronics work. Like it's purely logic driven and thinking about things into minute steps and step by step exactly how it works. Like that it's hard to instill that in someone if they're just working day to day 9 to 5. Or probably at all.
Not everybody is self-motivated as well. You forget that. We're talking about college, but we're thinking as, you know, we're all in our 30s, aren't we? Yeah, we're all thinking as people in our 30s, not 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're that 17-year-old and you're deep into Julius Caesar or whatever you're getting into, you know, you're not thinking about the future process design and stuff like that you might have to do one day.
Yeah, well, I would just say, like, to say university is X or Y is probably a simplistic way of looking at it. Like, there's business, there's the arts, politics, you know, and then there's the sciences, you know, and then architecture, engineering, all that kind of stuff. So they're all very, very different. So I definitely think some of them will go, for sure. They'll fall away. They probably are already, for all we know. And then some of them will actually there'll be more stuff. But that if Carl, you're kind of thinking of process improvement and all the time and streamlining and stuff, it's probably not a very effective way. The current university, the way you go to university, certainly isn't. Maybe yours is completely different to us, but we were doing 15 hours a week. It's not an efficient use of learning time currently. So it's going to change 100%. Whether it'll go completely, who knows? We won't be around there.
Well, I hope we'll be around in 18 years, Mark.
Live fast, Luke.
Yeah, I know. You're pushing 50. That's it. Should be. But still. But yeah, cool. Okay, so let's talk about the business, the future, the brightness of future, kind of the moonshot here. Like, can this be something that is it like? Are the economics here this similar to normal SaaS businesses, or will there always have to be an element of kind of like a customer success manager, making sure people are using this platform to the maximum, or can you just sell licenses into infinity?
I suppose there's both options. I can absolutely sell licenses to infinity. Like, so the idea of the platform is to try to automate R&D tax credits and make it as simple as possible. And really, if you do it, just follow what the app says and you push your button at the end of the financial year, it'll get you all the way to all your technical documentation produced, and it'll get you a claim or a template that's just to fill in a couple of financial numbers that'll get you all the way to CT1 return. So you could use your existing accountant as long it's a confidence thing. Like, it's like, would you submit any area of a tax return without anyone looking at it? Some people would, some people wouldn't. The consulting element is definitely relevant for most companies. I think most companies should avail of some level of technical review, but the quantum of technical review should reduce dramatically. But I'm in conversations with a couple of multinationals around just building these processes. As I said to you guys, like, a lot of the multinationals are using processes that are entirely Word and Excel driven on like a monthly or a quarterly basis to hundreds and hundreds of people that has been organized and managed by the Big Four with no real proper training or guidance because the volume involved. And some of them are like, this is brilliant. I want any chance you can roll this out to every tax jurisdiction in the world. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely I can. I probably need to move away from the low-code or web app solution for that and do full stack development on it, which is fine. So I'll probably be looking for some level of investment over the next while. I'm hoping those multinationals just pony up and pay for it, like, and take an equity share in the company. That way you have guaranteed large customers. They have good jurisdictional knowledge of each of the different tax jurisdictions, and they're similar. Like the R&D tax credit legislation globally is very similar. It's all based off the same concepts and information, and even like what you need in terms of your time recording and your technical data recording and the type of information you need to retain. It's all pretty standard. In fact, the Irish regime is probably the most onerous. So most jurisdictions will be a scale back of what I've already built for Ireland. And yeah, roll it out. Like, so if I look at the States, for example, like there's just like 30,000 companies claiming R&D tax credits in the States. And the software is not a one-for-one solution. So each company might need 5 licenses. So the numbers get quite big quite quickly. And again, some of the multinationals in multiple jurisdictions could be huge claims. And they have the in-house knowledge to manage the earned tax credit claim after it gets to a certain point. But getting to that point from an administrative point of view is an absolute nightmare. And the software solves that problem for them. So it's a combination of the two for your SMEs or your smaller firms. And actually, even if I look at, I'm partnering with loads of accounting firms at the moment, because most accountancy firms, if you say you want to claim an earned tax credit, they'll kind of look at you a bit blankly and say, it's a bit risky now. I've heard bad things about that. Don't usually go ahead with it. And that's just due to, like, how are they going to know? They're not electronic engineers and chartered accountants. They don't have experience in the area. And it is risky. Like, if you get it wrong, just talk about the numbers involved. Like, revenue come after you and start asking you serious questions on it. And it's not okay. Like, you can be in a seriously difficult position with owing a lot of money to revenue very quickly. So it is high risk, and revenue look at it quite closely because of the numbers involved, as they should. So most of those smaller accountancy firms, even, I'm kind of partnering with now. So they're saying, we'll just outsource it to you. I'm agreeing a commission. I'm looking at getting their clients up on the software and then doing that element of consulting at the end, feeding it back into the accounting firms and paying them a commission on the annual claims. Like, so it's great for them in terms of an outsourced service that their clients need that doesn't really exist at the moment. Like, there's not a lot of offerings outside the bigger firms, and most SMEs are outside the scope in terms of paying those level of fees to those companies, or are even afraid to go talk to them. So I kind of offer that intermediate service now. So it's there's loads of opportunity to expand. The global solution is definitely one. I'm in conversations. Actually, I'll call tomorrow with the finance director of one of the biggest tech multinationals in the world about how can this be broadened out to multiple different jurisdictions and how we can automate it or how we can work together. They say that they have been thinking about doing something similar for about 3 years, and they actually hired a guy to do it, a guy I've worked with before. And that was his main role when he started, but other things happen, you get called into other areas, and I just haven't gotten to it. So I'm far along the journey that they want to start on. So we're kind of a conversation about what it would look like to work kind of collaboratively on this stuff. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know where it'll take me, but hopefully it takes me to multi-millions, massive mansion somewhere in Spain or something.
That'd be great, because I'll be good to be mooching off you guys down there, Mike.
No better man.
I'll be like, listen, your nephew misses you, Cathal. We're bringing you down. It'd be great. So obviously that'll be the best case scenario there.
Cathal, sorry, look, can I just ask, Cathal, like, how many staff do you need for the maybe the near future? Even, like, is it staff intensive kind of thing? Surely you can't automate everything, and you can't do everything.
No, so it's how many staff am I going to need? It depends. So the software does a lot at the moment. So I'm in no immediate requirements for additional staff. Like, by approximation, I can comfortably manage 750k a year revenues without anyone. After that, but I'm going to start taking on grads from STEM backgrounds, or from backgrounds that are kind of in that hybrid space. So there's courses, there's transition courses into accounting, like your postgraduate diplomas in accounting, that have people who might have relevant qualifications to me. So trying to recruit people in with that dual knowledge. Like, the future of finance is highly technology qualified chartered accountants. Like, that is,
I've seen the demand for that already. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, that's what's going to happen. That's the world we're going to live in. I'd like to get a nice group of those people together and build it out as a firm. Get those people kind of qualified. I'll train them myself.
You know where I am. You know where I am.
That's it. Yeah. Good stuff. So immediate term, if I go and build a global platform, global solution for this, I'm going to need a software development team. And I'm not outsourcing, as you said, Mark, for the same reasons I outlined before, because it wouldn't be, things will change. It's still tax. It's still not, it's dynamic. It's a dynamic world that needs to change and alter quickly. and I need to have someone working with me closely that I can pass knowledge through and make adjustments with quickly. And I want to have control of that. And I think if I partner with some of those multinationals I'm talking about, hopefully I can maybe leverage some of their technical knowledge as well. So how many are you talking? I can't see me taking on more than 10 people in the next 2 years anyway. But I would see maybe 3 or 4 over the next year or so.
Okay, very good.
And
sorry, Luke, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, you've been doing videos and stuff online. I've been watching on LinkedIn and stuff. Like, you as the thought leader, is that like a conscious process that you're doing, like to get your brand, your brand and the company's brand out there as the expert?
Yes, absolutely. Because like, it's, again, you'll see people like claiming R&D tax credits. There's loads of like UK companies at the moment trying to tell people to claim R&D tax credits in Ireland, and like, it's completely different. Like the level of scrutiny in the HMRC requirements are very different to the Irish requirements. To like, it's night and day. And if you put in a claim the way you put in a claim in the UK in the Irish regime, you're going to get into serious trouble. So it's just trying to outline to people and make sure they're kind of aware. Look, I know there's a few people knocking on the door saying we're doing a tax credit claim in Ireland and we'll do X for X percentage, but who are they? Who are they? What are they? What's their background? How much experience do they have in this stuff? Are they, a proper Irish entity? Have they experience in Irish claims? And like, do they really know what's going to take to get it over the line? So yeah, it's conscious. It's a conscious thing. And look, it's kind of hard to get your brand out there at the moment in a pandemic. Like, it's not like you can go and rub shoulders with everyone at a conference or whatever. It's there's not a lot of ways to get your name out there.
It's LinkedIn, isn't it?
LinkedIn, yeah. LinkedIn's the only way, really. Like, I'm working with the Institute of Chartered Accountants a fair bit. Like, I've helped them with the pre-budget submission there. I'm going to feature on their My Tax Journey page in the next couple of weeks. I'm writing a couple of articles for them as well around R&D tax credits. So that helps. Podcasts like these help. Just getting connected with things like groups like Scale Ireland, and just trying to connect with like startup hubs and SMEs. I'm trying to link in with Enterprise Ireland. Obviously, Enterprise Ireland are not allowed to refer people specifically or promote any one business, but just trying to make sure that the mentors and the people in there know of our existence and know where to send people. Because from the people I'm talking to, even the people who are like, actively involved in the sectors, you're like, people ask me about this stuff all the time. I never know where to send them. It's like, at least I have a name now, or I have a contact, and trust my level of experience to a certain extent. So yeah, it is thought leadership. And also it's like, some people just like, it's such a huge risk area. Like, it's even just sharing that knowledge. Like, a lot of that knowledge, around how to claim R&D tax credits is in a small circle of people. That's unless you go and talk to those people and pay them huge amounts of money, you're going to be in real trouble. So I'm trying to make it more accessible for the world, like, to a certain extent. There's no point. If someone's going to claim an R&D tax credit, they're going to claim an R&D tax credit. At least if they watch my video and it kind of goes, oh, yeah, actually, I shouldn't do what I did last year. I should change it. That's good. Like, I just help the world to a certain extent. It's no skin off my nose sharing that knowledge there. 1 minute videos.
Yeah, you have to give. You're giving real value though. Not a lot of. There's a lot of bullshit out there that tippy toe around something, or it's just filler, just to be on camera and just to talk. You're actually giving away real value, and that's what you have to do. And then if they want the full value, obviously come to you and
Well, that's it. There's like 4 hours of training within the app of like, literally, you're doing X now. This is why you're doing it. This is how to think about it. This is like, so that's like, those 1 minute videos are very, very brief snippets of like the core information. There is as I said, there's not a lot to R&D tax credit if you kind of know them and know how to structure it all. And most of what I'm trying to do is about, it's funny, like, everything at the end of the day in tax or any accounting, it's about good data in makes the whole process at the end so easy. I'm trying to get the good data in, and that's what my whole solution is based on. It's not really based on the complex tax advice. It's based, get good data in, and the tax advice is simple. And I don't care if I share a bit of knowledge about what that tax advice is, because that's not where the money should be coming from, really.
It's a great way to. It's like bringing the fire to the people. You know, you're kind of democratizing the kind of the knowledge part, and then just building the processes around it, which is great. Like I said, in a couple of years, if you're hiring 10 people, that makes a big impact on those people's lives. You know, that's what we always talk about on the podcast here. We speak to people who have hired hundreds and hundreds of people, and we just think, you know, in that local community, what does that do for those families and everything like that. So wish you all the best of luck on that. Also, I've got a personal stake in your success as well, because I want to go visit you in Marbella. You know, once everything kicks off. So wish all the best of luck in the future. We'll put all of the stuff in the show notes about the website and where to contact you guys. And we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on the SharkPod. Oh wait, one more question. Would you prefer a t-shirt or a mug?
Oh, I think a t-shirt.
Perfect. So we actually don't do these ones anymore. Mark Baker, we've got that one.
Oh, that's cool. I saw you wearing one of them the other day, Luke.
Okay. Self-promoting, just walking around. Okay, cool, perfect. So we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. I might even drop it to you, you know, by hand next time I see you. So thanks very much, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure.